So I'd like to tell you a story of a guy I once met. You see, I just had my second child, and I had been out of the workplace for a couple of years, despite being a conventionally productive member of the workplace for over a decade. And some of you might be able to relate. At this time, I had been thrown into a whole new world. I was feeling a little bit disconnected, overwhelmed, and I'd lost some confidence. My husband and I, we had been invited to a drinks event, and I thought that after so many weeks at home, it would be very nice to go. So I picked my very tired self up, I showered, I put on clean clothes, these were big deals in those days, and off I went. I bumped into this guy at the bar. He said hello, and he told me he was an accountant, and he asked me what I did. So I just instinctively replied, and I said, I'm on maternity leave. He just looked at me, he turned around, and he just walked away. No more small talk, no more chit-chat, that's it, he just went. You see, he was there to network. If he had spent 5 or 10 more seconds talking to me, I think he would have found out what my previous day job was, and it would have sparked his interest or fit his agenda. In our quantified world today, we seem to measure success or potential success in numbers, wealth, social media followers, and we give each other easily qualifiable labels: doctor, dentist, accountant. We seem to sometimes measure people for what they're worth or what worth they can give to you. If you ask me, in my opinion, there is one unquantifiable thing that guy at the bar forgot about. Many of us have it. The more you use it, the more it grows, and it has the power not only to change our own world, but the wider world around us. Friendship. I remember a simpler time. I remember when we just met people and took some time and interest, found commonality. We perhaps learned something or nothing really that important about one another, but just enough to have a conversation, an understanding, and a connection. Haven't we overcomplicated life? Today, some people view others as social capital. We network. It's something really complicated. There are books written on the subject and instructions on how to do it. The implication is that you meet people for a specific purpose, and if that purpose isn't easily apparent, well, then you just move over to the next person. And it seems that people must have something to offer to come to these places of networking, and if that offer isn't easily quantifiable or qualifiable, well, perhaps one should just stay at home. We need to go back to basics. We need to go back to making friends and connecting with people. That is, meeting everybody with an open mind, with the premise that everyone has something to teach you: who you want to be, who you don't want to be, to reaffirm a belief or to challenge it. We need to go beyond the specific agenda we sometimes meet people for. And when we do that, we learn so much about each other: likes, dislikes, opinions held, skills, talent. And if we don't do that, we risk out on missing out on so much potential connectivity. Now, listen, connectivity, it's not a dirty word. It doesn't mean hanging out in big delegations or being a socialite. It just means viewing the world as relationship-based again, and resisting that urge to narrowly mindedly network, quantify, or qualify. Like my neighbour, for example, I met her through another neighbour, and beyond the neighbourly thing of swapping house keys in case of emergencies, beyond that, she was exceptionally creative. She could put together a spreadsheet and a website, in the flash of an eye. She was passionate about putting community and social events together. She can make you 150 mini desserts in like 150 seconds, and 3 flavors to boot. Or this girl I met through work, she was an amazing entrepreneur. But beyond that, she had this amazing story of how she turned her hobby into an enterprise. She did it at a particularly turbulent time in her life, where she was left penniless with a small family to feed. Or some of the mums that I was meeting at the nursery doors every morning. I mean, most of them just wanted a good night's sleep. But beyond that, some of them were looking for a new balance, a new direction, but had no idea of where to go or how to find it. For the most part, I never considered any of these people a part of my network. They were just really simply my friends. Now, we meet people at all stages throughout our life: education, work, social interest groups, other friends. And naturally, we interact with some people more than others at different phases of our life. And some friendships even become dormant, but they're always there in the background, going through the same changes and things as you. Friendships change, some strengthen, some weaken. And there are people that we connect with in varying degree, and there are always people we are not going to connect with. But the point is, each one is a connection, a friendly fund of connections to draw from, a fraternity of people, a fraternity of friends, always accumulating, growing with different skills, talents, abilities, and advice. It's a friendship fraternity. Has anyone played that degree of separation game where you figure out how many connections between you and another person? The theory is that we're all connected on this earth within 6 connections or less. People usually play it with famous people like Barack Obama. For me, my Member of Parliament, David Cameron, Barack Obama. People used to play it in the 90s with Hollywood actor Kevin Bacon. Me, the film director Gurinder Chadha, who spoke at the Socialist Initiative I run. That's got me to Hollywood. Must be a couple more from there. The theory is that a friend of a friend can lead you to anyone. A friend of a friend can lead you anywhere. Now, it seems sometimes that we're conditioned to keep our connections secret. And of course, there are times where this is wholly appropriate and necessary. But if the task at hand doesn't have a top secret element, why not share, even if there is no benefit to you? Why? Well, I believe that there are sometimes incorrect assumptions in some social and economic theory. You know, the one that says that we're all a really selfish species? And if I was really, really wrong, I don't think any of us would be here today. We are the culmination of generations working together. You see it in the small actions of everyday people, whether it's holding a door open, getting out the way for emergency vehicles, rallying together in times of crisis. There are so many things that we do without expectation of benefit or reward, and perhaps being a connector is one of them that some have just forgotten. Do you remember that nice man at the bar I told you about? I may have had absolutely no worth for him whatsoever. But he forever changed my view on making friends, networking, and meeting people. In ancient Greece, the marketplace was a place not only to buy goods and services, but to meet people, to introduce innovation, to participate in conversation, debate, to challenge ideas. Isn't that an amazing thing? I want to do something similar. I wanted to create a place where people could come to be inspired, horizons broadened, a place where you could be engaged, encouraged, empowered, and enabled, a place where the unconnected could meet the connected, and the connected could further connect, a place to be valued. So, with a handful of connections from my fraternity of friends, I and my very organized neighbor, together we set up a social initiative all about connecting people and sharing stories. Not connecting people for any immediate gain, but just so that one day you may know somebody for whatever that special thing is that makes a difference in your life as you see it. Professional advice, personal support, friendship, respite. It's a place where you can hear stories about how an entrepreneur set up an enterprise from a hobby, how somebody overcame adversity and triumphed. A place where you can hear the stories of others and how they have navigated their paths to find the answers to some of the balances that you may now seek. I think there is an incorrect assumption sometimes that when we connect, we diminish ourselves. I think that we should see ourselves as candles. We know that when a candle lights another candle, it's not diminished in any way. A candle can light 100 candles, 1,000 candles. A candle can light a bonfire. A candle can light the next innovative thing that can change the world. In our world today, we're really lucky. We have the online world and the real world. And obviously, they are the obvious caveats about not taking everything you see online as gospel. And that's true for the real world too. But the internet has enabled us to connect exponentially. Both worlds complement each other. Online groups meet in real life, and real life groups meet more people online. We have to remember that search engines don't always have all the answers. And if they do, they don't have the ability to go beyond the question to find all that hidden connectivity. Search engines, they answer the questions that you pose. But friends, they can help you draw out the question in the first place. So, let me ask you, who do you know? And how far can you go and what can you do? And it is not about being self-serving. It's about working together for societal change, for health and well-being, for innovation, maybe even for enterprise. You see, we need to go back to basics, and we need to put friendships back at the heart of our networks. And when we do that, when we use our innate altruism to connect and create opportunity, well, then our worth is immeasurable. And our potential impact, it's limitless. Thank you.